I'm Chairperson Councilwoman Jan Perry. Mr. CLA, would you please go through the agenda?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Rafael Breda with the CLA's office. You have a one-item agenda.
Okay.
Item number 1 relates to presentation and Board of Public Works report in response to the motion Krukorian relative to adoption of policy to ban single-use bags in the City of Los Angeles and related matters. We have staff from Bureau of Sanitation.
Okay, sanitation, come on up. Mr. Koretz, are you going to sit in the committee meeting today, or are you just visiting?
I'd be happy to have a chance to testify.
Oh, all right. Well, why don't we take you first? And then do you want to participate in the committee meeting or no?
No, I'd love
Oh, great. Thank you. All right. Well, why don't you testify first? And you can. We're going to give professional courtesy to Council Member Koretz. And then we'll go to the staff.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, this is an issue, I think, whose time has definitely come. When an effort legislatively in various parts of the state first began in 2003, when Ed Reyes and others were pushing it in the city, 2004, when I first tried to introduce a motion to regulate plastic bags, it was widely viewed as too broad a step. I had a spot bill in the legislature in 2004. A pro-environment chair of the Natural Resources Committee said they wouldn't let anything on the subject out of the committee. We've come a long way since then. While it hasn't passed yet at the state level, it's close. I think people have recognized now that this is not only a tremendous waste of natural resources, a process that generates greenhouse gases, a tremendous source of litter, but that we're actually endangering the marine life in our oceans with the tremendous amount of plastics that are out there. So this has become more of a consensus issue. There are other places throughout the state that have passed plastic bag bans. I think now even the supermarkets, I think the California Grocers Association, some of the big individual chains are surprisingly now on board and helping to provide leadership on this issue. So I think that's a piece whose time has come, and it's generally anticipated that if we pass the plastic bag ban, that will provide the missing momentum to pass that at the state level. Now, I think the more contentious part is the second part of my motion, which would also ban all single-use bags, ban paper bags along with plastic. And that, I think, does need more public education. I am getting constituents that call in support, but I'm also getting a lot that call and squawk and say they're not ready for this step yet. I think people don't realize that while no one's anticipating that paper bags will end marine life in the oceans or some of the more dramatic steps, that it is also a very great environmental negative. Huge impacts on forests, a great amount of deforestation, which will only increase if we don't address paper bags in any form. The fact that it takes 20 times the amount of fresh water to manufacture a paper bag compared to a plastic bag. There are many environmental hazards that go along with paper bag production that actually make them worse in some ways than plastic. So I believe we also, rather than just banning plastic and allowing paper bag usage to go from 400 million a year in Los Angeles to many more than that, we must also do something to reduce paper bag usage and single paper bag usage in Los Angeles. So I would ask you to consider a couple things. I would ask you to consider the motion that's before you. I'm not sure whether this committee or the council is there yet. I can say with some confidence that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that will be a commonly accepted practice. But as with others, as with issues like smoking, which has taken a gradual 40 years to be greatly regulated now, people may not be ready for that. So I'd ask you to consider that. If you're not ready for that step, I would ask you to consider an intermediate step, at least what the county is doing, requiring some sort of a fee, like a 10-cent fee, for paper bags, which is also greatly diminishing the use of paper. One could also consider something that one city did, a little bit more of a visionary step, but not the dramatic step I'm suggesting here, which is 10 cents now, ban on plastic, 10 cents now for paper, but 2 years from now, an automatic 25% charge for paper. So that at that point, once society and once Los Angeles consumers have digested the concept of a 10-cent paper bag and have mostly switched to use of more permanent bags like canvas, that then they could move to 25 cents. At that point, it's really just an emergency measure. You get off a bus, you don't have your bag with you, you clean out your trunk and forget that you haven't put your bags back in, so you pay 25 cents. But it wouldn't be a very common thing. It would, without a doubt, reduce the usage of paper bags by the hundreds of millions in the city of Los Angeles. So what I would actually ask of you is that today we asked the department to do environmental research on both concepts, both the total elimination of paper and the introduction of a fee, even a two-step fee, which would be a little more of a significant step, and bring those both back to council once their environmental analysis is done. So I ask you either way to take a visionary step. I believe if we even do what the county is doing, that cities and counties all over the state of California will adopt that as an intermediate step. I think Los Angeles has an opportunity to provide a huge amount of momentum to this effort with whatever action we take. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I hope you will consider these actions in advancing the environmental ball forward.
One quick question, Mr. Corrett, since you've been working on this issue for such a long time. Have you seen any studies or any analysis on putting a charge on paper bags and the impact on people who are on fixed incomes or recipients of WIC or EBT? And have you seen any exemptions to that?
I don't believe there have been any studies, but I think because the cost of the canvas bags is so low, and the fact that entities, even like the City of Los Angeles already, give away a lot of these bags so readily, that there may be, it may be very possible to get canvas bag manufacturers to sell them to the city, sell them to markets at a discount to be passed on to people without the economic wherewithal. I actually have some information that is, I can't read, so I don't know if there's something in here.
Something that we'll talk about.
I think at the end of the day, if people had to buy $5 worth of canvas bags, and that was their total cost and a family contribution to this, I think that wouldn't be such an unreachable goal, but I'm sure we could find some way to get these given away. They're so low cost.
Think that part through, because, you know, and you yourself represent a large number of seniors on fixed incomes, particularly, you know, in areas of your district. So I would suspect that we all have populations within our own districts. I know that I do, you know, Skid Row and then parts of South Los Angeles where even $5 can mean the difference between, you know, milk and bread.
And there are even markets that currently are offering 5-cent a bag incentives. Yeah. So without really intending to, since I mean the $5 doesn't add up for me in any particular way. Yeah. I've probably paid for my canvas bags just by shopping at markets that offer an incentive. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that because you have more. Yeah, some areas don't have markets. So anyway, this is going to be a long discussion. So I think that is one issue to address, but it doesn't seem to me to be a deal breaker on this issue, so to speak. Yeah. I think we can find an answer to that. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your time. All right, so staff, if you would come up to the table. And Mr. Krikorian has joined us now.
before we move forward into the report, just to give us a synopsis. It's useful for people to understand what regulations are in place regarding carry-out bags and any programs that we or retailers have in place, and just give us a quick synopsis of that.
Good morning, Karen Coca with the Bureau of Sanitation. To respond to your question, you should have in front of you a summary. This one right here.
Okay.
This summary is a summary of all the cities in the state of California that have moved in some fashion on a plastic bag ban in their communities. The first 17 communities actually have adopted an ordinance banning the plastic bags. If you take a look at the top of this spreadsheet, it shows different aspects of the ban, whether there's a ban on paper bags, which there is not in other communities as of now, whether there's a fee on paper bags, and as you can see, there are many. There's also in most ordinances, and we are also proposing an exemption for low income to get a free bag. We'll have to work on that when we, if the council takes an action directing us to prepare an ordinance and make sure that that language is very specific for that. And then moving over, if you take a look at it, it also talks about what types of stores would be covered under or are covered under these systems that are already in place.
Good morning, Alex. Hello, Bureau of Sanitation. We have very quick presentation. If we'd allow, we can go through it quickly.
Yeah.
And be
let's do
able
that.
to. Okay.
Probably more logical to do it that way anyway.
All right. Well, good morning. The item before you today is...
You want the lights off or down? Turn the front half of the room off so they have more of a contrast for their screen. Okay, that's better. Well, yeah, that's better? Right.
That's great.
Okay, great.
So we're here before you today to discuss policy action. The Bureau of Sanitation is requesting that the City Council take a policy action to ban all single-use bags in the City of Los Angeles, to require that reusable bags be available to customers for a charge, except for low income, and also to require that reusable bags have performance standards so that when you're buying a reusable bag, you know that you can use it at least over 100 times, so that people, when they do buy the bags, they last for a long time. Now, the City Council has been working on this issue for quite some time. The first impetus came because really the LA River and the problems with litter. When the Bureau of Sanitation was doing waste characterizations and cleanups along the river, they found a great number of plastic bags in that trash. So in 2004 and through 2005, the Bureau of Sanitation had a task force that got together and basically worked on this issue. And the task force report that went to the mayor and council in 2005 recommended the Adopt a River program and did a lot of river cleanups and anti-litter education. In 2008, there was another council report that was requested. The Bureau of Sanitation worked on that and came back with some recommendations. The recommendations were both to ban polystyrene in city facilities and to adopt this policy statement for the reduction of single-use carry-out plastic bags in the city of Los Angeles. At that time, the council acted to adopt a policy to encourage the state of California to move forward with a statewide program, but that it also made it clear that if the state had not acted by 2010 to move forward with a ban on single-use plastic bags. More recently, there was a motion in 2010, the Smith-Rosendahl-Reyes motion, directing us to come back with a plan to move forward for a plastic bag ban, and then most recently, the 2011 Koretz-Krikorian motion, giving us direction to come back with a single-use carry-out bag ban and policy. The Bureau of Sanitation through the years has done quite a bit of work in both outreach and collection of the materials that are discarded, but we also have done quite a bit of education. Starting in 2007, we've taken the single-use carry-out bags in our blue bins, and while we do collect and recycle about 380 million of them a year, that still leaves billions that are not collected and recycled at this time. We also participate every year in Earth Day, Day Without a Bag, America Recycles Day, and we've purchased and distributed through council offices, mayor's events, our own outreach events, over 250,000 reusable bags in the last 5 years. When the Bureau was looking at this issue, one of the things that gave us pause was looking at the fact that many municipalities have been challenged legally on their plastic bag bans. There have been various responses to that depending on the community, but what really struck us was that the County of Los Angeles prepared a full environmental impact report for their plastic bag ban and identified in their EIR that banning both plastic and paper was the environmentally preferable alternative. The reason being that paper bags, while they do have a higher recycling rate, they still mostly end up in the landfill. They're heavier, and they're transported from longer distances to get to the markets where they're distributed. So, and they are made, frankly, to be a single-use product, and that's what we're trying to move away from. When you talk about other options, such as the quote-unquote biodegradable bags, it's been found that those bags do not break down. So if they are littered, they stay as litter. They do not break down in the marine environment. And we actually did some tests. A lot of my staff are home composters, and they tried to compost these biodegradable plastics, and they don't work in a home setting. You can only break them down under certain circumstances. So we don't feel that that is an appropriate alternative either to a single-use plastic bag. So the reason that the Bureau of Sanitation came forward and really believes that banning both products is the right way to go is because it is the environmental alternative. It really goes much farther because a single-use product will no longer be available. As you can see, there's a number of municipalities that have already moved forward with plastic bag bans. In general, the bans, with a few exceptions, ban the single-use carry-out bags in stores like supermarkets, convenience stores, some of them in retail stores such as other than grocery stores and convenience stores, but generally they also have a fee on a paper bag. It ranges from 5 to 25 cents. They also have a phased-in implementation where they take different forms, but basically they start with the large supermarkets and then move to the smaller stores over a defined period of time, and that varies depending on the community. As I mentioned, the state legislative activities over the years, every year there is at least one and usually a number of bills introduced trying to address this And over the years, the council has supported a number of them very strongly to have a statewide program so that we can provide the same information in every community. Unfortunately, none of these bills was signed or enacted. I mentioned the court challenges in California for single-use bag bans. That's been quite significant over the years. Several communities were, this is just a sampling of the communities that where lawsuits were filed after they adopted an ordinance banning single-use plastic bags. Manhattan Beach case, which most people know about, they actually took this all the way to the California Supreme Court. California Supreme Court found that Manhattan Beach did not have to do an EIR for their ban. Unfortunately for us, the opinion also stated that one of the reasons is because Manhattan Beach is so small, and stated also that a larger community may not be able to do the same thing. More recently, Marin County was sued when that county banned single-use plastic bags. So far, the court has ruled in favor of Marin County. They actually did a categorical exemption for theirs, and so far have prevailed in court. Los Angeles County was a lawsuit was filed, but not against the plastic bag ban itself, but against the store charge that they have in their ordinance. The assertion is that it violates Proposition 26. And then going on, other communities have taken different steps as they have had lawsuits filed against them. But not everyone has had lawsuits filed against them. City of Malibu did not. City of San Francisco did not. So it certainly hasn't been everyone. So getting very quickly to our recommendations, the recommendations in the staff report is to adopt a citywide policy to ban all single-use bags within the City of Los Angeles and require retailers to provide reusable bags to customers for sale or at no charge for low income. Direct us to begin the CEQA process for this ban, to approve staff positions for implementation, and then request the city attorney's office to draft and return with an ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to ask a few questions, and then I do have some speaker cards. And just to let everybody know in advance, so we don't run out of time, Mr. Krikorian are going to ask some questions and put some things on the record. I'm going to have to cut the time down to probably a minute or even less, depending on how long this takes, so everybody can, make their viewpoint known. Now, your report notes that the proposal would affect at least 7,500 retail stores in the city of Los Angeles. So how much outreach has sanitation done towards these consumers, the manufacturers, businesses in the city, and explaining to these stakeholders how this proposal will affect them?
Well, there hasn't been a formal stakeholder process for this item. We have had discussions in the past where we've met with internal city staff as well. There was a large stakeholder process that took place in 2007, 2008, and there also was a task force several years ago.
Have you quantified the financial impact of your proposal, including the financial impact on the city, and broken it down by impact to the city, on retails, and on consumers?
No, not at this time. But I would imagine that the store charge would more than compensate the stores for having to give out another type of bag.
Now, has there been any analysis on the cost to the city to implement this proposal, including the staffing, the outreach, the compliance, and the education? Has that been quantified yet?
Yes, we've done a draft implementation plan. It certainly would depend on what exactly was adopted. There are There are costs involved with education. We have education programs going on right now, so there might be some economies of scale, but it will require some additional staffing.
Okay, now your report suggests that you'd be able to manage annual inspections of retailers with a staff of 4 environmental compliance inspectors. Now, how did you derive that number that 4 can serve and ensure the compliance of 7,500 or more retailers?
The estimate of the number of inspectors takes into account how many retailers they could visit in a day. We did a calculation based on a number of inspections per day we would break the city up into zones. That inspector would be responsible for their zone and would also take complaints or tips from the public. That's where we would also ask for a clerk to be able to process that. Again, it really is depending on the program that we are directed to move forward with. If it does include enforcement, which includes fines and penalties, then we would be asking for the enforcement staff.
Now, has the CAO reviewed this proposal to determine how it can be funded without negatively impacting the city's general fund?
No, we do not have a CAO report at this
Is the
time.
CAO here? Is there a CAO here who can speak to that?
Good morning, David Harano with the Office of the CAO. We have not had an opportunity to review this.
And what is your time frame for reviewing it?
Well, if that's the request of the committee and council, we can do it as quickly as possible. However, right now we're in a kind of a workload peak, so
I'm sorry, I can't hear. There's a lot of...
we're kind of in a workload peak over the holidays, so I'd have to consult with my colleagues in the CLA and see how long it would take us. My guess would be close to 60 days.
Okay, well, one of the things I'm concerned about, and so that nobody's confused, I do support a plastic bag ban, and I am not there on charging for paper bags. But what I want to do this is with our eyes wide open. I do think it's very important to understand if there is any impact to the general fund. We need to know that with our eyes wide open.
Okay.
Before we implement this proposal, we'd also have to complete an EIR. I think that, and Mr. Krikorian, who's wisely pointed out that Manhattan Beach, and you did too, is much smaller than Los Angeles. Tell me about the EIR process, the level of detail, and what would be needed to be able to stand up to any sort of legal opposition.
Well, I can only speak to my conversations with the city attorney's office to date. Since we know that there has been a large amount of litigation when municipalities have moved forward with this action, we have to be very careful that we follow the process, that we determine what level of review we need, and then there is a process to go through. There's a lot of information out there already and data about the environmental impacts of making those changes, but the City of Los Angeles would have to do their own analysis and circulate and go through the regular process for an EIR on this.
Okay, now as CAO, I'm assuming that since we don't have a CAO report on this, that you probably haven't had a chance to review the enforcement mechanisms and the resultant fiscal impacts?
That's correct.
Okay. Why don't I ask my colleague, Mr. Krikorian, if he'd like to ask some questions, and then we'll go to the cards, and I have some more comments after that.
Thank you. You mentioned the stakeholder process that had happened a couple of years ago. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What was entailed in it? Was there a report prepared as a process, as a result of that process?
Yes. Back in 2007 and 2008, we had several stakeholder meetings where we invited the industry, everybody who was interested in this issue. So it would have been the industry, the grocers, the retail stores, the environmental groups, internal city city folks, community groups, where they were invited, and we had several stakeholder meetings. That information was compiled and those comments brought together as part of the report that was presented to council in 2008.
In addition, Councilman, we had, the city has a policy of becoming zero waste by 2025. So we have a large stakeholder process called the Zero Waste, that the Solid Waste Integrated Resources Plan for the City of Los Angeles. In that one, we had hundreds of meetings with residents in the City of Los Angeles as well as businesses. And one of the recommendations that came up in the SWIRP report is to really ban both plastics and paper. So that's one of the recommendations of the 12 guiding principles, that the zero waste, because they understood that it takes the city, even if you ban only one, the others still go to the landfill, and so they want to reduce the resources that's going to the landfills.
Right, now, I know that the Grocers Association has asserted that if there's a combination of a plastic ban and a paper charge, that there's virtually no increase in the use of paper bags that results from the plastic ban. Have you made that assessment or validated that?
No, we have not, although we did visit a couple of the stores in LA County that were covered under their plastic bag ban, and the store managers told us that there was not a large increase in the use of paper. Once people had to pay a couple times for paper bags, they started bringing their reusable bags. So it does, I believe, help change behavior.
Okay, now, and also on the county ordinance, in response to the important point that Ms. Perry raised earlier, the county provides an exemption to anyone who is on WIC or other
Yes.
public assistance, as I understand it.
Yes.
And they're entitled to get a free reusable bag from the store upon request. Is that the way
A
it
free
works?
paper bag.
A free paper bag?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the county was sued under Prop 26 because of the mandatory charge. I don't know if other entities have been sued under that theory as well. Are you aware of any resolution of any of those findings, any feedback that we've gotten from the court on it? Because in my view, it's a nonsensical argument, but have we heard any feedback from the courts anywhere on that?
No, that was the first that I've heard of that type of a challenge, and as far as I know, to my knowledge, there has not been a resolution to that as of yet.
Okay. One of the reasons that I think it's a nonsensical argument is that it's not a fee that's collected by the government. It's not a fee that benefits the government in any way. This is a requirement that the store charge 10 cents a bag, right?
That's correct.
The store pockets that money, right? It pays for the cost of the bag, presumably. Now, that raised another question that I haven't been able to get an answer to. If the store is making a mandatory charge of a dime a bag, is that a taxable sale? Is that a sales taxable purchase by the consumer that will then produce revenues for this city? And
I do not know the answer to that.
well, maybe you can speak to that when you come up, sir, but I don't understand, I can't understand why it wouldn't be. It's a non-exempt sale by a retailer. In my view, it should be taxable. So, I'm probably going to have some other in response to Ms. Perry's question on the environmental review. It is the case, is it not, that the city can rely on the work that's already been done by the county in preparation of their environmental review, but in part, but would need to supplement that for any variations that there may be within the city?
In general, that is correct. Obviously, the scope of the change, you do a scope of basically what the action covers, and that's what you do your environmental analysis on. The County of Los Angeles did, in their environmental impact report, attempt to do the analysis for the entire county, but we would have to describe what our program was, so there may be modifications or other things. There may be a possibility of relying on some of their analysis, though.
Okay, and on that point, can you clarify for me whether there is a difference in the scope of business institutions to which the proposed ordinance applies in the city compared to what is currently in place in the county?
Actually, the rough draft of the ordinance that was attached with the package is very similar to the same, to the program that was adopted by the County of Los Angeles. So it anticipates covering the same sort of retail stores in the same way.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Alarcon has joined us. Mr. Alarcon, do you want to ask?
I'm sorry for being late. I was trying to get through the throngs.
Yeah. Did you want to?
No, I'm good. Let's
Okay.
get this thing done.
Okay, great. Why don't we, staff, take a break, and then I'm going to call up people 4 at a time, and I'm going to make it 1 minute each. Kirsten James, Jack Allen, Ann Williams, Scott Crawford.
Good morning. My name is Kirsten James, and I'm the Water Quality Director with Heal the Bay. First off, I want to report on a very successful Day Without a Bag, of which the city was a partner yesterday. This is our 5th annual event. We've been outreaching on this issue for the last 5 years or more, and it's been very successful. All of you up at the dais, we had events in your district, and we had over 100,000 giveaways. Really quickly, the fiscal cost issue. The city can minimize costs, as Mr. Krikorian said, by using what's already been done. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. This analysis is out there. We can use the environmental review. We can use the analysis that's been done. The enforcement can really be minimal. We can look to the county example. They have a simple checklist on their public health form that can really make a big difference and cost very little. So I think the fiscal costs are minimal. As far as the low income issue, there is the exemption that's been done for WIC and food stamps. I think that would make sense for the city as well. And let's remember, there is no free bag. Those costs are embedded in the prices of the food. Thank you.
Jack Allen.
Yes, Jack Allen, Pacific Palisades, lifelong environmentalist, member of the Sierra Club and the Ocean Conservancy. Based on this 2011 120-page report by the Environmental Agency of the United Kingdom and other research I've done, I'm opposed to this ban because I think it'll be harmful to the environment. Did you know that unless you use this cloth bag at least 173 times, it contributes more to global warming than this plastic bag? That's mainly because of the energy needed to produce cotton, yarn, and the fertilizers needed to grow cotton. But this plastic bag is made not from oil, but from natural gas and recycled plastic. And these cloth bags have to be washed after every use in order to prevent contamination, which uses additional water. These bags are reusable. They're used in, studies show them used as 60 to 76% of the time. And if they're used in a trash liner, that's one of the reuses, which makes this bag even more harmful to the environment. If we don't have these bags to use in trash, we have to use these made out of oil, and they wind up in the dumps anyway. So.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ann Williams.
Good morning. I'm Ann Williams with the Central City Association, representing nearly 450 members employing over 350,000 people in Los Angeles. And as business leaders, we recognize the importance of being environmentally responsible. At the same time, we want to emphasize the importance of working collaboratively with all stakeholders to create balanced and meaningful policies that actually achieve the desired outcome. We believe that a ban on both plastic and paper, which the Bureau of Sanitation's report says would be the first of its kind in the state, we believe it's a major policy decision and that this is uncharted territory and we need to know more. We oppose moving forward with a dual ban today, and we sincerely hope you will take the time to give careful consideration to a policy decision that affects not only every Angelino, but every visitor, almost every visitor probably, to our city. Thanks.
Thank you. Scott Crawford. And
Good morning.
Before you start, Scott, stop the clock for a second. And we have Sid Morantz, Josh Joyner, and Gilbert Gonzalez to come up. All right, go ahead, Scott.
Morning, I'm Scott Crawford. I am the candidate for CD13, but I'm also on the governing board of the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. For over 6 years, we have been, in our outreach program, we've been giving away reusable bags. And over 6 months ago, we sent a letter to the City Council urging you guys to support the motion that's on the table. So we hope that for our 37,000 voters that you guys will definitely consider this motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Sid Morantz.
Hi, I'm Sid Morantz. I sell store supplies, and I'm on the ground and see the effects of all of these bans in various areas where I vend product. I sell reusable bags, I sell paper bags, I sell plastic bags. I make the same amount of money no matter which one is used in a given geography. There are very, very, very few plastic bags floating around in the ocean and in the LA River. 99.5% of all the waste that's in there is not plastic T-shirt bags. It's other kinds of litter. So if we ban plastic T-shirt bags, we would make a minimal impact in cleaning up the environment, and we'd still have to clean up the environment on a physical basis. Plastic T-shirt bags are the most cost-effective way of getting groceries home from the grocery store. No matter what else is said, I live this.
Thank you. Josh Joyner.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Joyner. I'm a member of CalPERG. We're a student-funded, student-run public interest group. We're also a nationwide entity, but CalPERG stands for the California version. We're from USC. We're part of the USC chapter, and we're here to present to you guys 4,700 petitions that we've accumulated in response to us going out on campus and petitioning to actually see if students care about this plastic bag ban and bags in general. And it's gone really, really well. Like, as you can see, we have 4,700 different petitions, and like, students really care about it on campus. We've also made it like a statewide effort. We've had numerous campuses across California, all the other CalPERG chapters like San Francisco, San Diego, UCLA. We've all bound together, and we've had numerous press events over the course of the entire year. The Oceans campaign for banning the plastic bag has been our main campaign over the last year, and we just re-elected it as our campaign for the next year too, our main campaign. So, because it's like, people care about it the most, and it receives the best input, I guess. And this is partially because 12 billion plastic bags are used every year by Californians. We recycle less than 5%, and it doesn't change the fact that 80% of all the trash in the trash island off the coast of California is made up of plastic.
Thank you. Gilbert Gonzalez.
Hi, good morning. I'm Gilbert Gonzalez. I'm Director of Public Affairs and Government Relations for Vons, which is owned by Safeways at Pleasanton. We have about 2,000 employees, 29 stores in the city of Los Angeles. Won't go into the economics of it, but I'd certainly say that we, as good corporate citizens, we understand the motion here in the ordinance and the direction that the city would like to go. We certainly oppose the double ban. We'd prefer a full ban on plastic and obviously a charge on paper. And if you have any further questions, I can take those. But
Thank you. What's your name?
My name is David.
Oh, sorry. Adrian Martinez. David Simhace?
Middlestein.
Is it David Simhas? Simha. Okay, and then Andy Schrader. And Sarah Sheehy. Is Sarah still here? Yeah, come on up. All right, Adrian.
Good morning. First of all, I want to applaud everyone on the leadership on this issue. To be an environmental leader like Los Angeles is, we need to get rid of this ubiquitous and avoidable form of pollution. NRDC supports a system that's consistent with the unincorporated LA County. But the limited time today, one issue I'd like to raise is if there is a fee on paper bags, there should be a concurrent requirement for post-consumer recycled content. We recommend 40%. We think that's what's readily available in bags right now, with the potential for making it higher on some schedule. But overall, we encourage everyone to move forward quickly on this because this is a pressing environmental issue and we need the leadership of Los Angeles. Thank you.
David Simhas?
Good morning. My name is Dr. David Simha. I'm the Vice President of Research and Development at Crown Poly. We're a manufacturer of plastic grocery bags here in LA County. We have 300 employees. I oppose this ordinance. I'm proud to have the opportunity to work at a clean factory here in LA County. The majority of the reusable bags that are in discussion today are made in China and they're imported into the United States. They're also produced with very high amounts of lead. We at our plant do not have any of these because of our strict regulations here in California. I'm also extremely proud that we employ 300 taxpayers and provide good wages, excellent health, dental, vision benefits, and 401k to all our employees. We have employees that range from medical degree doctors to many single moms working for their families. We have jobs here in LA and we should support them. We shouldn't export them to China. Thank you.
Andy Schrader?
Hi, good morning, Madam Chairman, council members. I'm with the Mar Vista Community Council Green Committee. I've submitted for the record letters of support from 17 and now, as of 2 nights ago, 18 neighborhood councils representing over a quarter of our population of Los Angeles in support of a plastic bag ban. The economics of a bag ban, on the LA County report from 2007, the staff report says that it costs consumers $18 in hidden costs for plastic bags per year, $30 in hidden costs for paper bags, and you can buy up to a dozen reusable bags for the same price. So you're actually saving consumers money. Some extremely low-income countries and cities have banned plastic bags: Mexico City, China, Delhi, India, Islamabad. They have not been adversely affected. This is a sample from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The international program on the state of the ocean declared that the world's oceans are in shocking decline. It's really imperative that we do this really quickly. Thank you.
Sarah Sheehy?
Yes, Sarah with the California Grocers Association. Just for the economics, as I've mentioned, we are fine with the ban on plastic. We want the charge on paper. It's really for the unplanned purchases our customers make to keep the revenue in the city and with our stores in the city, allowing them to, they get a call from their husband or wife, they're downtown, they want to go to Ralph's. It just gives them an opportunity. They didn't bring their bags, they didn't think they were going to the store. It just gives them that option to purchase a paper bag at a lower cost than buy a brand new reusable bag when they might have a trunk full of reusable bags at home. To your question, Mr. Krikorian, we did get an answer on the tax. The BOE said that the city cannot collect sales tax on a charge on a paper bag. Apparently it's with a charge imposed by the government, it is not included in gross receipts and therefore not subject to a sales tax. So that is your answer.
Thank you. David Middlestein. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, me. My name is David Middlestein. I'm the CalPERG chapter chair for the undergraduate students at the University of Southern California. My colleague and I, Josh, presented the 4,600 petitions we've collected from students, from residents of Los Angeles, and other people who are interested in seeing this ban pass. Economically, environmentally, and just aesthetically, these bags are really a blight on Los Angeles. You can go for a walk just down the street of Los Angeles and find 4 or 5 of these plastic bags littering the walkways. These also pollute our beaches, cause significant damage to our environment, and ultimately pose an economic cost when these bags have to be cleaned up by the state as well. We here at CalPERG passionately believe that protecting our environment, conserving this for future generations is extremely important. And for that, we urge the passage of a plastic bag ban in the LA County area to cut back on this plastic pollution and to improve the aesthetics of Los Angeles as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, that marks the end of our public comment. And I'm going to make a few comments, and if my colleagues want to make comments, let me know. Just again, to clarify, I do support a plastic bag ban. I am not sure I'm there on the paper bag issue yet and on the associated cost to purchase a paper bag, but we'll continue to wrestle with that one. In 2004, I signed onto a motion that Councilman Reyes introduced asking the Bureau of Sanitation to create the LA River Plastics Industry Task Force, and that was created to address and to study ways in which we could reduce the number of plastic bags in our streets and our waterways. There's no sadder sight than when the rains recede and you see the trees in the LA River decorated with plastic bags because the waters have receded, and now you can see it. And you saw the summary of what has happened at the state level, and with varied results, including issues regarding public input, feasibility studies, and analyzing the potential economic impact. And again, I said earlier, I support a plastic bag ban, but I want to do this with our eyes wide open. I do want Los Angeles to do this right. I do want to go through the necessary steps to ensure that the direction where I think we are going, whether it's charging a fee, banning plastic bags, or banning both paper and plastic, or if we end up with a hybrid, it's something that can be sustained and that is feasible and in the long term. Now, the city attorney's office has advised us to complete our own EIR before pursuing this ordinance. I certainly am concerned that in our haste, I don't want that to be our undoing. Now, as stated by staff, we haven't done adequate outreach. We certainly don't have a report on file here yet from the CAO on what fiscal analysis may mean for impacts to the city of Los Angeles and our EIR. I want a fiscal analysis done before we complete an EIR and a draft ordinance, and I don't think we should move forward without those reports on file. This is a very highly charged issue, and I certainly understand that, but we want to make sure, or I want to make sure, that any ordinance that we adopt meets the needs of the people that we serve, supports our efforts to clean our environment, and can sustain any legal challenge. And I've been very consistent with my decision not to vote on policy issues in committee without a CAO CLA report. So I'm going to ask that the report come back in 30 days, and from that we can move forward in creating an ordinance that I think that we can all support and be proud of. And so I'm asking sanitation to come back in 30 days with an outreach schedule that does not exceed 60 days, and in 30 days come back and report on their progress. Now, we have some other recommendations that I'll read into the record. Instruct the CAO and the Bureau of Sanitation to report back with a report giving us the fiscal impacts of the proposed bag ban on the city of Los Angeles, manufacturers, businesses, consumers, and include that within the, I'd like to see if we can get that back in the 30 days. So, we're going to be in recess, and we'll be back just after the beginning of the year. But I really would like to move this along with those things on the record. I'm sure there are some people who could make a decision today without that on the record, but I do want to make sure that the record is thorough and complete, and that that as a chairperson, I've done my due diligence on this issue so that we can make the issue based on substantive information that is here and well documented. Is there any comments from my colleagues? Yes?
I have a couple, if I could.
All right, Mr. Caress, guest colleague, yes?
Just a few thoughts over the course of the discussion. One, although it was mentioned in terms of low-income consumers, the county in their 2007 EIR did note that paper bags have an average annual hidden cost to consumers of $30. And at the time, they compared that to the average cost per bag of $2.99, which now is readily available in most stores at 99 cents. And they said it would typically take 2 years before replacement. So it would take a typical, even low-income consumer $1.50 a year for the canvas bags and $30 a year for their actual impact. And that's before any low-income assistance. So at least on the county's assessment, it was a net positive for all consumers financially. As far as enforcement, I don't want the high cost of enforcement to be used against this, and I really think enforcement will be easy. So I would only recommend one staff person to do the enforcement, because I think this is actually going to be very similar to what happened with our smoking ordinance. Within a very short period of time, everyone was in compliance, and the restaurants way back when that weren't in compliance, just about everyone involved in the smoking issue knew exactly who the ones were that were still violating. By and large, peer pressure got them all into compliance. In this case, I think every major chain would come into compliance almost immediately. There might be a few mom and pop stores that we'd get a complaint on and could enforce, but I'd do it as a complaint-driven enforcement with one staff person, and I think it would be just fine. I don't want to see us anticipate a lot of high costs on enforcement. And lastly, there's one interesting legal approach that has been suggested. I don't know if it's been tried anywhere else, but rather than actually proactively assess a fee, what we could do is we could consider banning giveaway paper bags. Not necessarily saying that you have to charge a fee and provide them, but you just can't give them away. So therefore, we wouldn't be assessing any kind of a fee, but if a store wanted to provide them at a charge, they obviously would have that opportunity. They just wouldn't have the opportunity to give them away. So that's something we should legally look at as we do our due diligence on this issue.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Alarcon.
I just have a general comment, and that is, it's really, my opinion is that the city of Los Angeles loses numerous opportunities to lead, and we should have done this a long time ago. When you look at all the jurisdictions that have considered this, you know, it's unfortunate that we can't take the power of our 3.5 million people and drive public policy as opposed to leading from behind all the time. This is something that couldn't be stopped. The will of the people is to drive this thing forward. And you know, what we really need are political leaders who understand that before they have to wait for the millions of people to come and tell them. We can do this a variety of ways, and I'll support any one of them if we can get it on the floor of the council, with the charge on the bags, without the charge on the bags. Let's ban the plastic bags. Let's move forward. I think that's the will of the people, and I don't think we need any more information. We've got all the information. Let's just do this thing.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. CLA, what did you?
Yes, Madam Chair, simply just a technical administrative amendment, if you could add, to re-refer the beer sanitation report back to the E&E committee to be considered as part of these report backs. So when the CAO, CLA come back, we have that report for reference purposes.
Okay, and just to sum up, we are almost there, Mr. Alarcon. We're nearly finished. What'd you say?
No, I'm just talking to myself. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, you have a nice time.
You know me.
Yes, I know. And did you answer?
And,
okay.
no, you didn't.
No, I did. That's what I'm there for. So, Mr. CLA, if you could just summarize the actions that we are taking in committee today so we can move forward.
Certainly. The actions you have before you are to instruct beer sanitation report back within 30 days with a 60-day outreach plan with respect to the ban and options associated with these matters, as well as a fiscal analysis, the policy analysis from the CAO and the CLA within 30 days with respect to this matter. And in addition to that, the technical amendment with respect to re-referring the October 21st sanitation report back to E&E committee.
And CAO sanitation. CAO sanitation.
Yes.
We're lacking.
Those are
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah. Always.
Yes.
Okay. So you got the CAO sanitation.
Yes.
Report back.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So,
Madam Chair, I just would want to clarify that these reports back would include then the options of both the plastic and paper ban, a plastic ban with a paper mandated store charge of 10 cents. And then I think also we need to consider Mr. Kretz's last suggestion of a ban on plastic and a ban on paper that is given away for less than a 10 cents charge. Because I think that is a legal distinction that could mean a difference in its taxability.
All right, thank you. So, without objection, that'll be the order?
Okay.
All right.
We'll forward that to
Thank-
council.
Thank you very much.
And this is item number 20 on today's council agenda as well.
Thank you. Now, that marks the end of our formal agenda. Anyone who wishes to come forward and speak on matters regarding public comment, matters that are not on the agenda, this is your time to step forward. Seeing that no one's coming forward, the meeting is adjourned.